Oops. All right. Oops. All right, welcome to the next edition of Move, Fight, Recover. Tonight, we're going to cover fight. Quick, short, fast, furious on these. The fight is fighting aggressively alongside your friends when possible. It's obviously ideal. Really what we're talking about when we talk about fight is the training and execution of your technical skills leading to tactical success. And when we talk about tactical, we're just talking about game IQ, knowing your opponent, knowing yourself, etc. So kind of the progression on this is your gym skills should give you good psychological skills, which will then translate into technical skill set, which will then allow you tactical prowess and expertise. This is kind of the meat of the work. So when you think of all the strength and conditioning type of stuff, this is kind of what we're talking about. We also want to take those gym skills to a mastery that should be similar to the technical skill level. So if your technical skill is putting on a tourniquet, your squat should be very similar in skill level and mastery. Now, when we look at the kind of how we implement this throughout the week, what we're really talking about when it comes to fight is managing intensity. And what we mean by that is managing the loads that you are putting at a percentage of your 1 rep max when it comes to lifts. And then when it comes to the conditioning side, I recommend at least a minimum of once a week, getting your heart rate to maximum or threshold or close to it. And at least just doing a couple reps at that. So one of the things we do commonly is a threshold run. So typically on a Wednesday, you're going to run with a max heart rate. It doesn't matter how far you go, doesn't matter how fast it is. The goal is to get the heart rate up high. And you could do a row, you could do a bike, whatever gets your heart rate up very, very quickly. Typically running, you are going to run that for 4 to 9 minutes, depending on what phase of training you're in. So doesn't sound too bad once, but when you do it 3 or 4 times, it kind of sucks. So that's kind of what we're talking about with the intensity. And then, like I said, on the gym lifts, it's more percentage year 1 or RM. So we're looking at that strength stuff. That's probably 85, 90% plus. You want to hit that at least a couple times throughout the week to fire up the nervous system. So we got 1 hitting the cardiovascular system, 1 hitting the nervous system. The question comes up, can you do both in the same week? I have found yes, and you're able to recover well. The other side of that coin is you do not want to do the threshold high intensity runs more frequently than probably once or twice a week. You might be able to get with 3, get away with it if you're a very advanced athlete, but honestly, I just don't think you're going to find much benefit to doing it that often. The higher strength work where you're doing doubles and triples and things like that, you can probably do 3 or 4 times a week without too much issue. Just have to manage it. If you're feeling yourself fatigue, and there's different levels of fatigue, it's something we could probably get into is what's the difference between lack of fuel because I'm out of carbohydrates versus a neurological fatigue versus sleepy fatigue. So there's a lot of different levels of kind of fatigue that you're going to feel. Just over time, you got to feel out what those differences are. So that's kind of the gist of it. So kind of covering what we've already covered so far. Move is we're focusing on our daily mobility. So that way we can get mobility skills, which then sequence into movement skills, which then go into technical skills and tactical skills. And now we're into fight. So we can translate those gym skills into a positive sports psychology mindset, which will allow access to better technical skills and tactical skills from those technical skill sets. So that is kind of fight. And I've got Mick just came on and I just kind of covered it. So I can review it real quick with you, Mick, or you can kind of check it out.
I'll just look at it. You can keep going.
Yeah, so I was actually just finishing. So basically, the gist of it is I was talking about the weekly intensity of ensuring. So really, the primary driver of fight is getting super high intensity at least once a week in a maximum heart rate, like a threshold run, or hitting a percentage of one repetition maximum in the gym stuff. Just trying to hit that intensity often enough without being too frequently to burn yourself out. So we're kind of looking at that happy balance of the meat of the work of the gym stuff.
Awesome. So when we talk about that balance, you like a threshold run and then percentage of max rep once a week. Okay.
Yeah. So and basically what I think I found, and you probably found as well, is that I think you can hit the threshold runs. Maybe I think once a week is probably ideal, especially if you're trying to maintain during a strength phase. You might be able to get away with, twice a week, maybe if you're a higher level athlete, but I think there's other methods that are probably better suited to match in with it. And then for the 1RM stuff, I mean, you could honestly probably do it every day, but I think 4 times a week is probably about solid for most people, and 3 times if they're not really advanced yet. And even twice if they're kind of a beginner. Because let's face it, thresholds runs suck.
Right. Yeah. The threshold run stuff is, I would agree with that, about once a week, especially for my folks in like a fight camp or something like that.
Yep.
Where, their sparring sessions, they're hitting thresholds as well. So hitting it more than once a week's usually pretty detrimental for them.
Yeah.
Their recovery anyway.
Yeah, with the threshold stuff, I mean, I don't know what your experience is, but I think the 4x6 is actually worse than a 3x9. Like the 6 minutes, and then you just get that fourth one just riding you. You're like, oh man, this fourth one's gonna be awful.
Yeah, sorry, I'm muting between sets.
No, you're good.
4x6 is, I think, especially when we talk about the tactical athlete, is like the ideal thresholds.
Yep.
For all of the tactical athletes I'm around, whether it's LE tactical athletes or MMA athletes.
Yeah.
But they're miserable. They're absolutely miserable.
It's pretty bad. It's just one of those, like, sure, if somebody wants to do it, like you get all these guys who just want to go ham. It's like, sure, go ahead and try it, like every day. Just make sure you're measuring your heart rate, not your speed or your distance, because you're going to find out real fast that that's not going to be fun.
Yeah, I mean, that's the big thing, is the heart rate work is super important, and getting a good monitor on that.
There's read a book.
Guys get caught up in distance.
Yep, or speed. They're like, oh, I finished faster than everybody else. Okay, but what was your heart rate like? If you're 50 beats per minute less than somebody else, sure, you're in better shape, but did you really actually improve your system? Probably not as much.
Right.
Greg LeMond, he had a good saying, and this is very relevant to for years people have been doing like the Tabata intervals and whatnot, where they're doing like, oh, I do the hard Tabata intervals. Well, Greg LeMond, he's just like, and he was a cyclist, for those of you that don't know, very famous, kind of competed with what's his name, with the yellow jersey and the unicycler, uniballer.
Right.
But basically, he said it never gets easier, you just get faster. Like that's like it doesn't, when you're tracking heart rate and you're tracking that type of performance, like it never gets easier. Like it just sucks every time. It's just like the 400-meter, run. Like, it doesn't matter if you're a world class, like, it still sucks. Like, there's no getting around it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It never gets better.
Yeah.
So cool.
I do find you can recover a little bit better in between, but outside of that, it's just, like, the actual work never gets much more fun.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. The recovery is where you notice the difference over time, I think. So.
And I think for
Awesome.
your guys, especially for your athletes, one of the things I found with the threshold runs is that it really helps when you're focusing on something else, being able to maintain a very high level of conditioning without losing any conditioning. So I found that pretty helpful.
Yes. It's very efficient.
Yep.
In terms of that, in terms of maintaining or keeping your conditioning in.
Yep.
It's a relatively fast workout in terms of time consumption of your day. So it goes fast.
Yep. Except for when you're
yeah.
Except for wobbling around afterwards.
Yeah. So.
I mean, you could be like Ephraim and like tape your mouth by accident because he thought that cardiac output transferred to the threshold. Just make it suck a little bit more.
Right. Awesome.
Cool, man. So yeah, that's basically the fight portion of Move Fight Recover is try to fight through a training session, getting the meat of the work done, transfer those gym skills into positive sports psychology, which will allow you access to better technical skills, which allows you to choose the right tactics for the scenario.
Yep. Sounds cool.
Cool, man. That is it for this week, and we will see you guys next week.
Awesome. See you then.
And all right, man. I'll see you next time.
Yep. I'm getting ready to do the Delt Massacre. So